be in the light. And I'm very honoured. I have to say, we did an interview, Malou, and I just had the feeling that we were going to meet at some point, and here we are.
Yeah.
Not that far away from when we first talked.
Yeah.
And of course, Anne Merel's here with me from the Netherlands. She's come along to support what we're doing with Freedom Train International. And I'm delighted to be here and finally meet you and your wonderful colleagues. So thank you very much for the
Likewise.
hospitality.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you for being here and wanting to take the trip to Denmark, to the north of Sjælland in this beautiful nature, where we are gathered in unity, because that's what it's actually all about, unity. I think we talked about it last night at dinner. So important that we realize that every human being has the power to do what is necessary to bring forth their own abilities to make a change in the world. It's up to us. If we want to go on the path that somebody else has decided, which is the road that the world is going right now, or do we want something better? Can we see a better way of being in the world? Can we see a better way where we take care of each other and take care of ourselves and our families, where freedom and the right to choose for ourselves is the fundamental of all decisions that we make? Yeah. So the unity and also the energy, as we talked about last night, the energy from a female and the energy from a man. And there's so much going on right now where everybody has to be equal and everybody has to have the same outcome and everybody has to, la-di-da. And I think it's really, really not only disturbing to see, but it's also destroying the power of a man and the power of a female, because we are different. We are equal and have equal rights and have the same chances and the same, everything is laid out for both man and woman. But we cannot expect the same outcome, and it's actually destroying the male energy and the female energy, which is so important when we talk about unity, because it's only when we come together with the force that is for the male and the force that is for the female, then we can actually create magic. That is where the magic happens. Look just when a man and a woman comes together, look what magic they can create with a baby,
Yep.
So in respect to that, unity in respect to that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm very much in agreement. Thank goodness we're different.
Yeah.
And when you take the female and the male energies and they come together, they produce something really, truly magnificent.
Yeah.
And I've always believed that the inherent skills that make a woman and a man, when combined, it really happen in a most powerful way.
Yeah.
But I've always been of the opinion that the ladies are incredible organizers. They're also very astute. They're inherently sort of they're empathic in so many ways. And if you want to know the truth, take a lady with you, because they'll be the ones that tell you that they spot all the little things that us men don't tend to notice sometimes.
No, but we are also the gatekeepers of the spiritual world.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, that's a pretty powerful thing. I mean, you and I kind of came into contact when I went to the Netherlands the last time. And it's quite funny, actually, because we were at dinner and Anne came up to me and she said, because we hadn't really been introduced, and she said, "Are you Jim Ferguson?" I went, "Yeah." And she said, "Oh, I follow you." And then I started to panic. I think, did I follow her back or not? Well, I had actually followed you back. And I truly try to follow people back. But one of the things about you is that you are doing so much work in the Netherlands for the vaccine injured. So,
Yeah.
I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, after I became sick myself, I came in contact with former politician Wiebren van Hagen. And during the time he was still in the House of Representatives. And when he heard about my vaccine injury, we actually started working together. So that's going on for quite some years right now. And we recently started the foundation Coronaschade. And we are actually planning on starting a class action for the vaccine injured and everyone who's a victim of the government.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've met Wiebren van Hagen when you came as a guest to Geneva, to the conference there. He came with some of his team, And you know, BVNL are doing a magnificent job in the Netherlands on the political front. I do like Wiebrandt a lot, and we're going to be working together with him for the BVNL international movement. So there's a
Yes.
lot of things that are happening there, which actually are so significant for all of our respective countries. You know,
Yeah. We
but
have a lot of vaccine injured in Denmark too.
yeah,
They're all over the world.
yeah,
Yeah, and nobody is taking care of them. No government is taking care of it. You're not
There's no
acknowledged.
financial support,
No, nothing.
and
No, nothing.
like the gaslighting is actually coming from both sides, like the unvaccinated, but also the vaccinated.
Yeah.
Once you're vaccine injured, you no longer belong to any of the groups.
Mm.
But I think the mental struggle is the hardest.
Yeah.
It's harder than the physical symptoms.
Yeah. And it's a disgrace. It's just an absolute disgrace that no government in the world is taking care of the vaccine injured. They continue to produce this mRNA Frankenstein injections, right? And now they're just turning the narrative into that. And again, it's a part of a bigger way to, we can actually recognize it because we can see the human view in their actions, you know? And when you have a technology that produces so many injured as the COVID so-called vaccine has done all over the world, and you continue to use the same technology in cancer, in influenza, and now in bird flu or whatever they come up with in these gain of function studies they do for so-called viruses, then you have the most dark evil. You can see that this is just dark evil.
it is dark,
Yeah.
and I think that you know, they talk about the Great Reset, but actually there is a great awakening taking place.
Absolutely.
And regardless of culture or geographical location or language, people are uniting all over the world. And I mean, I was particularly interested to meet you. You know, we got introduced together from Andrew Bridge and the GMP. And what a great, I must thank him for that, because that was that led on to us actually coming here, you know.
Yeah.
But regardless of race or religion or spiritual view, we are uniting, and we are focusing on that which unites us, and where that common bond is.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to look at the differences or the divisions.
Yeah.
And the real trick to all of this is to find that common ground with each other as human beings.
Absolutely.
Well, what you
They
also
want us
see is-
to hate each other.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you see, like with the vaccinated and unvaccinated as well, we start to blame each other. And instead of doing that, we need to unite as human beings and hold the people that are responsible for all the human suffering in the world accountable for it.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the only way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's a human view. What kind of human view do we have? What kind of human view do humans actually have? Instead of allowing that some entities from outside is deciding what kind of human view we are going to live after in each of our society, which is actually the foundation of what we do in the freedom movement in Denmark and what you do with your Freedom Train International organization, right?
Yeah.
So it's a common ground where we have a view on humans that the inherited and we are born with not only abilities and magic connection to the universe and everything around us, but we are also born with not justified, you know, the law, natural law. We have a natural law foundation which is above every government, every organization, every whatever Mr. Global and company is trying to make us, you know, go under and, you know, be controlled of something that somebody else is saying. I'm like, what the beep, you know, what the beep is going on? So if we can have in unity more people to actually think about what kind of world do I want to leave behind to my children and my grandchildren.
And that's such an important point. I mean, you talk about a dark entity. From my point of view and from my perspective, the globalists are taking a very anti-human approach
Exactly.
in terms of censorship, freedom of choice.
Yeah.
They are very controlling. And I think there's probably a lot of psychopathic people who tend to rise to the top of their positions because they like control.
Yeah.
And that type of behavior is not conducive to good human development. But I will say that over the last 3 to 4 years, I think from what I've been certainly discovering and through talking to lots of people over the period of the last 15 months when I've been building this international movement, is that there's actually other people who feel the same way.
Yeah.
And you yourself have had a head start on me. I mean, you've had about almost, is it 4 years?
Yeah, almost.
Almost 4 years of
Yeah.
building a freedom movement here in Denmark.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to meeting you, comparing notes, and in
Yeah.
fact, it looks like we're going to sort of combine and unite our skills together once again for Denmark, but also for everybody else.
Yeah.
And one of the things that strikes me is the fact that so many people have felt alone in the world, isolated, because the mainstream media, controlled by the globalists, are giving that narrative that if you have an alternative view of religion or spirituality or medical procedures, or you take a different approach, that somehow you're in the minority.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, there are millions and millions of us all around the world.
Exactly.
And what you're doing here in Denmark is fantastic. I pay great tribute to you for
Thank
that.
you.
And I always know a warrior when I meet one. And I think I said that to you the last time.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here beside two warrior queens. And oh my goodness, they're tough. They're tough. Let me tell you, they're tough. But in a nice way, in a good way, in a positive way. And that's where working together internationally brings such strength for everybody out there who might feel that they're in the minority, or they might feel that they are, that they're taking an alternative view, but we're actually not really in the minority at all. It's just that that's how we're told that we are. And in fact, the fear that they've used,
Yeah.
the threats, the intimidation, the coercion.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, you can't work, you can't use public transport, you can't fly. That is all inherently wicked, it's evil. We are free spirits.
Absolutely.
And we do not comply.
We do not
We
comply.
do not
Not at
comply.
all.
We will take a stand.
Yeah. And I think it's important also to understand, and for you who are watching this, to understand that in creating a better way, in creating a better world, you need to step forth. You need to take leadership for yourself, personal, peaceful leadership, saying and stating, be aware which part of what is actually going on do you want to participate in? Do you want to go that way where the train is going now, off the cliff?
Not freedom train.
Not freedom train. Or do you want to go along, for you in the UK and the States and wherever you have your audience and your members?
Yeah.
Do you want to join Freedom Train or the Danish Freedom Movement? Because this is where the power is. When you decide, say, I put my energy in the good things. I put my energy and my spirit and my body and my resources in building a better way, a better future, along and united with other people who have the same view. And we can do that if we can encourage people to stand up, even if you're vaccine injured or if it's other things, our children,
Well,
the
I
way
think
we treat our older people and so on.
Yeah, but I also think it's our responsibility as adults to protect the well-being of children.
Absolutely. And
so you have to speak up.
That's the most beautiful responsibility we can have, right? And
Yeah.
we are blessed with children, right? And we're blessed with other people's children too, because they are the foundation of the future. And if we cannot, in unity, make some kind of alternative way, a better way, then they are lost in future. So this is actually what's at stake here.
Well,
What
we're talking about alternative systems. We're talking about alternative lifestyles that are freedom-based, that bring us fulfillment on a deep level as human beings. And I think that is fundamentally important. And the more that we speak out, the more that we stand up, because, we are, it takes courage. It takes great strength
does.
to stand up and speak out, because none of us here really set out to do the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
We've kind of just, we do what we do because we feel compelled or called to do it. But as one person stands up, another 10 get encouraged to stand up as well. And there is strength in numbers, and there is that common emotional connection to people, regardless of what language we speak. I mean, my Danish is a little bit rusty. I can say skål. We did skål.
Yeah, we did
That's
skål last
cheered
night.
or slan, in the Highland tradition. But that human element is so powerful.
Yeah.
And I don't think the globalists really want us as human beings to understand where our true destiny lies, because it probably scares them. And in fact, if I'm being right, if I'm being honest, I think they actually fear us. And
They do.
that's why they want to lock us down and turn this beautiful planet into a prison planet through the implementation of digital ID, central bank digital currencies, and the horrible concept of 15-minute smart cities. But the other thing that I thought was a really good conversation was with John as well, who talked about freedom train and training for freedom. And that is a little play on words.
Yeah.
I'm giving him the full credit for that. I wish I had thought of that, but hey ho, I'll take it. But he'll get the credit for it.
Yeah.
But we are actually training for freedom. And one of the things that you and I have discussed is, how do we build our own leadership network?
Yeah.
Forget the globalists and the young global leaders. We
cannot
don't
use
want
them for
them. They're a
anything.
bunch of psychopaths.
Yeah.
We're not. I think we're inherently decent people. Are flawed? Yes. Do we always get it right? No, of course we don't. That's what the human journey is all about.
Yeah. It is.
But working with people
Yeah.
and like-minded people and giving people hope for the future is so important.
Yeah.
Well,
isn't it?
we actually did the same thing in our countries, because we built a whole network with lawyers, doctors, politicians as well, and like all the people who are fighting for the greater good.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Freedom Train International is stepping in, because that's a platform where we can combine all the countries with their experts.
It's a very important point.
Yeah.
And you're connected to a lot of very top solicitors. I mean, you were studying law there. So you know a lot of the sort of the brightest minds. And of course, you've been instrumental in helping to connect Freedom Train International and myself to a lot of those people. And we met them in Geneva. We met loads of people there. And of course, in my last trip to the Netherlands, I was able to do a lot of work. I was there to work, and by golly, they made me work. And Anne was organizing a lot of that, and she's a great organizer. So that's why she's sort of coming on board with us, and we're going to be doing a lot more traveling together, meeting more people, and probably, we're heading to London next for a week or so,
Yeah.
and then we're going to decide where we go after that. But there is a high likelihood that we're going to be heading to the United States as well. But I think even before then, I'll be heading back to the Netherlands. There's a lot of other people that I've met. We've introduced some new concepts and ideas to them who are also spirited and freedom loving. And it's about, I met a lot of Dutch farmers, for example. And I mean, the Dutch farmers have had their farms expropriated, confiscated, given small amounts of compensation, then told they can't farm anywhere else. And that knowledge of the land and animal husbandry and crop growing, I mean, that's not something that you can just learn in a course at university. That knowledge is inherited. So one of the things that we want to do is get people prepared for being as self-sustainable as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Being independent
Yeah.
of the system. Sorry, there's a pussycat there. I like cats. So she's come in to say hello. But, when we are talking about being independent, we have to put it into practice, because talking is good.
Yeah.
But then we have to do things.
Action. It requires action. And I want to say one thing, actually two things. First, it takes courage to do what you're doing and what you're doing, Anne, and what I am doing. And we cannot do that if we don't get support and if we do not support each other, because you know what I'm going through and I know what you're going through and so on, because it comes with a price. But when we have support, people are also inspired to step forth. And the more we are that can step forth and tell, this is what's actually going on, and share information, for instance, and that's the second thing I want to say, the Dutch farmers, they have been attacked from an early start. And the Danish farmers, they still haven't figured it out. So if nobody from outside comes in to Denmark and tell the Danish farmers what is actually going on in the Netherlands, then you have a problem here, because then we are not prepared.
Correct.
And that brings fear.
Yeah.
When it comes in and you're not prepared, it brings fear,
Yeah.
because then you do not know what to do with it. So the information and the cooperation in unity, telling, well, there's actually something going on in other countries and it will be in your country too, because it's a matter of culture and how much, for instance, the farmers, the Netherlands is one of the biggest countries in the world that produces corn and all of that. So of course they've been attacked first. And so the pattern here, it's important to understand that even though Trudeau, for example, the greatest psychopath, one of the greatest psychopaths is actually in control in Canada, deciding if people's account is supposed to be closed down, if they don't do what the government is telling them and so on. It will come to Denmark too. It will be in England. It will be all over the world.
Well, I've talked to, I mean, I was in the States, across eight different states in October last year. And we were talking about this very thing. And I said to a lot of the ranchers, a lot of the farmers, don't think this is confined to the Netherlands. It's coming to you.
Yeah.
Every country is now being identified.
And we are basically a pilot country.
The Netherlands is absolutely a pilot country, and they're getting away with a lot of things there. But you raised a very important point, and with your permission, I'd like to go back to that.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
where you talked about support, because I'm a big fan of history and military strategies and all sorts of things like that. And any army that's raised can only go so far unless it has that support network with it. So we are freedom fighters. We are the global resistance, but we can only do so much on our own.
Yeah.
And there are people that don't necessarily want to do the kind of activities that we do in terms of either building a freedom movement or putting ourselves. There is personal risk. I mean, we all understand that.
Yeah.
But there are things that the people out there can do to support us.
Yeah.
And that is just as important as being in the trenches, as being in the front line. We are the fighters, but we need all of you to support us, because in any ancient battle, there was the medics, those that fed the troops, those that tended to their wounds and looked after them and got them back to full health again and transported us there and did all of that kind of support. And we need all of you to come back and to support all of us in that united, hello, Puss. Hello. In that united front. And I think that maybe she would like to say a few words as well. But, maybe she's going to put
What kind of world do you want, Miss Molly?
Miss Molly.
Yeah,
Miss
a
Molly.
world where respect for all living creatures and human beings and nature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think just going back to the other aspect of that is we do need to have that support in order for us to be effective. And everybody plays a role. And the role that you out there that play in helping to share and spread this information, that's a vital part of it.
It is really important.
But there are those of you in business, there are those of you who have had very successful careers. You might be also business entrepreneurs. And it's about, what kind of a world do you want it to be? Well, there are those of us who are standing up and fighting hard for the truth, for justice, and for freedom. But we can't do it alone. We do need your help and support.
Absolutely.
And I would also like to say to the Dutch vaccine injured to sign up for the class action. You can go to the website of stichtingcoronaschade.nl and please sign up.
Yeah.
Because we need you.
Good.
And Freedom Train International is going to be supporting this work as well. There's a massive upgrade coming to the site for our followers and our members. And, we're going to showcase the work that Anne is doing in the Netherlands. We're going to be linking into Malue and the wonderful work that she's done here in Denmark. And we're building a huge sort of international movement here that is centered on freedom and that's against medical mandates and restriction of movement. We believe in freedom and the rule of law. We are peaceful. We don't like war. It's not that I'm a pacifist, and I'm sitting beside two ladies who are pretty feisty. They're fighters, but we don't want unnecessary wars either. And there's a lot of concern about where that might be leading.
Exactly.
Once again, through the globalists who have infiltrated our parliaments and our governments. And it's a very dangerous game that they're playing. We don't like it.
No.
So we have to be as prepared as we can be. And what do we say in Freedom and Trade International about that?
Don't be scared, be prepared.
Don't be scared, be prepared.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I need to seek for a way to translate that one into Danish. But you can follow the Danish Freedom Movement on FBF.1.
And Freedom Trade International is freedomtraininterntional.org, freedomtraininterntional.org. And you can follow my X channel. I've got a reasonably large channel now, and that's at Jim Ferguson UK. And Anne Merel, you're also on Twitter. What's your address again?
Anne Merel _.
Okay.
That's my Twitter.
Okay.
And I would also like to refer to the political party I'm working with, BVNL. It's bvnl.nl, the website.
And BVNL is partnering with us on the international side. They're playing a very, very important role in the political aspects of it.
Yeah.
And it's not one particular way to combat it, but we are linked in. I mean, I have a political background, of course, within the Brexit Party and the Brexit movement there in the UK. And, you know, we're identifying like-minded people in the political arenas as well. The business side of my background as well is linked into a lot of other businesses too. So once again, we're taking it from a much larger approach. It's not just necessarily from one particular path. We're combining.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the strength is.
It's really important. If you, what they're actually doing in the Netherlands is covering everything up with legislation and also the excess mortality data. And I think it's quite comparable with other countries, how they are covering it up. So we need to work together, especially lawyers.
Yeah, I so agree. And again, it's unity. We can only do this in unity because if all freedom-loving people could just say, no, thank you. Just say no. I do not want to participate in the way that we are heading now that is decided by other people who have a human view, which is actually not created on the foundation of freedom of choice and freedom of everything, speech, how we want our children to grow up. So if you just say no, say, I want to have a better way. I want to do this in a better way. I want to have my life in a better way. I want to have a foundation in the respect of differences, but in respect of unity, that all men and women are created equal with each of our capabilities. We can create a better world if we join forces, we come together. And by the way, I'm also on X, on Twitter, and my account is Malue Montclairre, but maybe we can, on your side, on our side, we can
put the links
we'll put the links into all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think probably from my view is that, you know, we can teach you what to do, because people might say, well, I like that idea, but where do I even begin? So what we're doing and what we're going to be working with you and the Danish Freedom Movement is we're going to be showing you the first steps. If you've never really thought about having an alternative way of life or living more independently, well, it's not so hard, and all you need to do is join with us. We'll teach you, we'll show you how it's done, and it won't be hard. We'll help you right from the beginner stage. But I've written 3 books that have not been published, but I've kept them, and they're being prepared now for the launch of the main launch of Freedom Train International, and they are detailed, they're well researched, and they're put together for all of you that want to come in and become followers and become members of our respective movements. So I think probably the one thing I would say is take control of your destiny. Let us be the authors of our own destiny and futures. Take the power back in a peaceful way, and just don't comply with, just don't go along with it. And we'll teach you how to do that so that you can actually be independent and live in peace.
Nobody's alone.
Nobody's alone.
Nope. That's a great way to end.
I think so,
in
yeah.
unity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would just like to say
Thank
on
you.
behalf of myself and Anne, thank you for your hospitality.
Thank you for
Thank you
being
very
here.
much.
It was my pleasure.
It's been
Our
so
pleasure.
nice to connect with people
Likewise.
like you.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Bright minds think alike.
Well, this is Jim Ferguson with Anne Merel Kloosterman and Malue Montclairre, reporting from the wonderful country of Denmark. And I would like to thank you once again, because as I always like to say, you guys are the real stars of this show. And I am
Thank you.
grateful to each and every one of you for liking and subscribing and getting the message out of unity, love, and harmony around the world. I'm very, very honored and humbled by the fact that so many of you follow this channel. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything that you're doing. This is Jim Ferguson.
Thank
We'll
you.
speak soon. Bye-bye.